has good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer.
Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, being a double team, multiple moves stacked into one, just a play of pure domination. This is actual film, this is actual football talk. It's a football show, so we're talking football, not storylines.
And you are listening to another edition of Blitz. As you heard me, I'm assuming we voted for Dan Feeney before we voted for Ronald Blair. If not, then it's going to be weird timing. But you heard me in the Feeney review say I'm doing 2 shows today. You'll notice the shirt, the big ticket Becton shirt. Hint towards I'm going to be doing toward, not hint towards, just say I'm going to be doing 2 reviews today. This is the second one, Thursday, June 24th. Again, I like to preface the time I'm recording it. So if something happens, let's say it's July 7th, something happens, you have to sign somebody, and then the show releases July 8th. They're like, why didn't you talk about that? That's why I'm recording this probably 4 weeks before you're watching it. In my time, it's a future time where you guys are watching this. The Steelers just released guard David DeCastro, who's 31 years old. I know he's still relatively effective with the Steelers last year, but I know he struggled a little bit more than in past. And apparently they released some $8 million they cleared. Now fans are freaking out that they want him. But it's already coming out pretty quickly after that he's evaluating his future. He has a relatively serious ankle injury and he might retire. So let's chill a little bit on that. Again, you guys know what happens in 3-4 weeks from now anyway, so this is probably pointless for me to even talk about, but I'm just touching on what literally just happened. I hit stop on the feeding thing. Twitter started going, looked it up, and that's what happened. So now we're 5 minutes after that all happened. Today, we're getting to Ronald Blair. I'll read the strengths and weaknesses at the end. Overall for Blair, kind of just quickly before I get into it, and you can read the article for my full, kind of fuller thoughts in terms of like the situation he signed to, minimal contract, played under Saleh. Oh, let me bring up his measurables. Played under Saleh, so they have familiarity, was touted for being a really high character type guy at college. Saleh had a quote, something, don't quote me, I'm not necessarily quoting him, but something to the effect of, if you want to win football games or if you want a good player or whatever, you want Ronald Blair on your team. So clearly he likes him. And the Jets kind of had a need at run stuffing defensive end because they have a ton of talent on the interior. They have Carl Lawson, who's obviously a great, edge as well. Typically plays on the right side. He's not a great run defender. He's decent, not great. But with the left side, you had, a mixture of JFM and Huff and Vinny Curry. No guy is really a good run stopper. So one of those needs going in later into the season, not one of the primary ones, is okay, we still need a run stuffing defensive end. Who could do it? Ronald Blair was signed, and that's who he's going to be for the Jets. 28 years old. Tore his ACL in 2019, like week 14 or 15, whatever it was. Was supposed to come back sometime last season. And then apparently there was some setback with the injury and he had to have another surgery. So he was out for a full year plus. So he hasn't played in a good amount of time, a year and a half since it happened. But you'd hope he'd be healthy. And again, he's probably going to be a guy who plays, maybe 25 to 50% of the reps, depending on the game, who we're playing, how run heavy they are, etc. But transparent, again, 28 years old. So it's still in his prime. 6'4", 279. I watched 2019 weeks 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So every game he played in 2019. I'll give these strengths and weaknesses at the end. Again, with shorter reviews, I tend to have less of a extensive list of strengths and weaknesses because I do not want to just say something to say something. I have to see it multiple times. If I don't see it multiple times, it does not get listed. So, first play, strong edge. He, again, is brought in for his run stuffing ability. He's not just a one-trick pony, though. He can rush a little bit. But primarily, he is a really strong edge setter. Like, he's just powerful off the snap. Here we see the explosion off the line. Good hand placement in terms of being inside, leverage, and completely pops up that edge. Now, that's an edge that's going to be hard to run against. If you're trying to widen this, you're not cutting outside of him. There's no way. And he has enough control with that inside arm and leverage where if you did try to hit the B gap right here, he's going across the face and tackle you. So he sets a really strong edge here, even though it's like a tight belly zone here. So he's not really gonna get out there anyway. Regardless, still a really good play. And then you're gonna see him once he notices the run go inside. Now he's gonna try to get back in on it, cross the face, arm over, punch through, chop, and get back in on it, or try to get back in on it if he could. Obviously, he gets tackled already, but next pop effort. Okay, right here, call him wide 5. Again, we went over this a lot with other guys. If you want to call him a wide 5 or a 7 or a 9, I don't really care as much as long as you're consistent with how you use it and you describe how you use it. So call him a wide 5. Wants to set a strong edge. They're running an inside zone. He's going to take that open chest, set the edge, maintains outside leverage, but he wants to control him. Maybe play the B gap. But first and foremost, get into him, create that push, set a strong edge. Hands inside, leverage, pops him right under the chin strap, stands him up, blows him backwards. So now the edge is really strong here. Sees the running back, sees he can shoot, tries to shoot, dives, doesn't make the tackle. But in terms of a strong edge set, I would argue this is pretty damn strong from Blair right here. Pretty strong edge. Better cut back. He is very, very powerful. Arm over. Okay. He's right here this is how I label 6I. 6I, wide 5. Not a wide 5, a loose 5. There's a difference. But I would say he's a 6I. Again, with more guys like filling gaps in the goal line like this, you have a little bit more flexibility to shoot a backside gap. It depends on the situation. It really does. But here, if he has a linebacker who's reading this and he can just play this block however he wants, that's fine. Be aggressive, cool with it. So is aggressive with it. 87, the tight end, is like base blocking him. So he's going to feel a move inside. Screw that. I'm going to take advantage of the open, the backside B gap, or the B gap here. That's where he's moving away from. Club him, take him where he's going, arm over, completely just shed him, just absolutely no shot. The power in that club is good. Again, good feel for it, Club, find the quarterback, create the pressure. Now, yes, they run a little flat 7 right here, gets a touchdown to Eifert. But in terms of Blair, yes, he wins right here. I would say he wins, So good job with the club arm over, getting that pressure. Hard edge, okay. He's right here, 7 tech. So he has good explosion out of the snap. But that's different than acceleration. When he's standing up, his acceleration is not good. So he's a guy who, and I've heard some people, I'm not going to say names, I honestly forget who it was, who think that 2-point stances are more conducive to explosion than a 4-point or a 3-point stance where you literally have sprinters. Every single sprinter runs with their hand in the ground, starts with their hand in the ground. You don't see any sprinter start from standing up like straight. There's a reason for that, because you're leaning forward and now you're exploding into your momentum. When you're standing straight, you have to create more momentum than you do from whatever. Nonetheless, 7 tech, explosive out of his stance. Okay, again, pretty strong edge here. 89 shuffles inside. He wants to maintain his inside leverage right here because the run's going inside. You don't want to block Blair with a tight end unless it's like they're running opposite and he's like a sifter or something like that, and just kind of trying to get positional leverage. But if you're trying to pop him up with a tight end, good luck. You're not going to really build, you can do it with a tackle, but even then, I don't like your chances depending on who the tackle or who the tackle is. So again, comes off of the ball, hard edge, Leverage is pretty good. Takes the open chest again. You can see him literally, for just that split second, lift the tight end off of his feet with the tight elbows. Stack him. Eyes are outside because he's trying to contain the edge. Mixon bounces it outside where he is. And again, versus an edge like that, you do not want to do that unless you're uber athletic or trust yourself to break the tackle, whatever it may be. Drops, sheds because he just popped them up. Uses his arm length, nice 34-inch arms, which is good for your tackle radius. Just because you have long arms doesn't mean you have tackle radius. I'm not saying he has a big tackle radius, but his arms do help the radius in general. So wraps him up, power, brings him down. A lot of good plays in terms of the run stuffing. Chop, play 5 right here, wide 5 again. Good stance, explosive out of it. He's a good chop move. He's a guy who sometimes I want to see him play angles more, where he does right here, because guys are going to set inside hard on him because he's powerful. So they're going to kind of sit down more versus him, versus speed guy that might get outside and be more willing to face your bull rush because you're not as strong. But with him, you want to play those angles. You want them to sit inside to get outside because guys are going to have to sit down versus you. So he takes, 2 steps upfield or 1 step upfield, 1 step upfield, stabs inside, which gets him to sit down. You're going to freeze his feet. There you go. Freeze his feet. Hop outside off of it. Good. And you see Donald do this a lot of the times. I'm not comparing him to Aaron Donald in any way, but this is like one of his moves. Stab inside, crush chop, swipe just in case he didn't land. Another chop coming over. He doesn't have the best bend, cornering ability and stuff like that, but overall it's still a win, and he gets somewhat of a pressure. So we'll watch it again. But good job. Stab inside at him to freeze him. And he does. And they're going to freeze because if he gets you in a bull rush where you're not sitting down, he's powerful. Power, but high. Yeah, he has a good bull rush in terms of power, but overall sometimes he comes into it high, like leaning at the waist, and his hands are wide. He still is able to overcome that at times because of the power he has, but with better technique, he'd even be more effective. 6-eye right here. Actually, just a straight 6. And even with bad hand placements, he's going to pop some guys back. So comes off of the ball, more of an aggressive angle at the tackle. Again, not the best leverage. Like he gets under him. And he is, he's 6'4", which is, I would say, like decent height it's solid height for a DN. That's fine. I would say it's about average. But you do want to see him get a little bit more leverage. Like he's leaning a little bit from the waist. It's not fantastic. It's not bad, but what you're going to see is, again, the hands land wide. Right hand comes over the top. The left hand seemingly does too. Cannot guarantee it, but I'm very confident it comes wide. So in terms of you bull rushing, again, you want tight elbows. You want it to be inside the chest. You want extension, tighter the elbows, chest control, more power generated, etc. We've talked about it 1,000 times. Again, you've watched a lot of reviews this offseason if you're watching Ronald Blair. No offense to him at all. You know what I'm saying? This is like my whatever review. Not conducive to the best bull rush, but he has power still, drives his feet, still pops the guy up, even with bad hand placement. You see, he literally lifts him off of his feet, even with bad hand placement. So ridiculous power, angles inside to where Dalton is. Dalton, gets outside the pocket, but overall, again, good and bad. Good in terms of power, bad in terms of some of the technique there, but still an effective play for him, creating that pressure. Blair sack. Okay, right here. 6'7". If you want to technically call it a tight 7 because his helmet's on the outside shoulder. I'm cool with that. If you called it a 6, I wouldn't be up in arms. Yeah, I do not understand blocking him with tight ends. Like I get sometimes I have to do it, and he's not Khalil Mack, but he's just way too strong for these guys. Even without like hand placement, whatever. I'm not saying this that's necessarily what this rep is, but again, he's gonna get into him even if it's a situation where, which I think he sees the run fake or whatever it may be. He's setting he wants to set a strong edge regardless, so he's going to angle off to the outside. Sometimes if he knew this was a run, he could shoot this backside gap if he has somebody like exchanging and filling the outside like an apex or whatever it may be. But here he gets outside. Looks like the left lands inside, the right, I'm not sure where it does. Regardless, he's going to pop a tight end back. Pretty much every tight end in the league. Maybe unless it's like a Trevon freaking Wesco. But if you don't have your feet under him, you're not working towards him, you're sliding away from him and he's popping you back. I don't think anybody's really going to be able to do that. Maybe 1 time out of 10 they can, but that's not a good percentage. So pops him back. Now he has a cleaner track to the running back, a cleaner arc. The right hand is what he has to work against the most. Arm comes up, forks it, lifts it off of him, or tries to. There's a holding that's not called because every other time that's coming off of him. But clear a hold, that is not called. Works through it, gets the sack on Dalton. So just power to pop, take the edge, angle outside, fork in the hand, should create, that should be a hold, but it's a sack, so that's even better. Blair bull rush. It's be the way he wins when he does on the edge for the most part. Wide 5 right here. Leaning heavy on those hands. Again, pretty explosive at the snap. You could see, like in terms of like his secondary gear, top speed, he's not the best at that. But because he's so, not because he's so wide, but you have to be aware of like your angles. And if you're going to rush up field hard like this, and you're going to let the tackle get on you, it's going to be, unless you're super bendy, it's going to be really hard for you to get to the point where you corner, where it's going to be at an angle conducive to get to the quarterback, because you're not going to be, too deep to get to the quarterback. So he's going to rush up field. He knows that. Now he's going to take it straight line right through instead of trying to loop around. So he's going to take it straight through, takes advantage of the arm length. 34-inch arms is good. I think he takes advantage of it. There's guys who have length but don't take advantage of it. He does here, reaching out for the chest, reaches out, gets it. You let him get your chest, going to be in trouble. Good leverage into it. Powerful. That shin and his upper body on the same place. And again, if you're in the guy's chest, you have control. You have a little bit more flexibility to be leaning. As long as you have good placement, you're blowing them backwards. If you start to come into a block like that, you're going to get probably thrown to the ground. But once you get into his chest, you have some flexibility to do so. Drives through his hands, bull rush. You can see the movement created in a hurry. Quarterback gets rid of the ball quickly, but good job creating a ton of movement really quickly. Gets right onto the lap of the quarterback. Bull take for ride. Okay, so somebody's getting popped back right here. He's right here. Wide 5. Yep. So again, another situation where he just wants to take the open chest and bull rush. It's, left tackle's hands land wide. You don't want this action. I think it's Villanueva too, but this is not a good block. That whole thing. Unless you're hug techniquing and you're trying to come over the shoulders. But I would definitely advise against hug techniquing Blair, because if he gets your chest, have fun. And that's what happens here. Rushes towards him, open chest, takes it. Pretty good leverage right here. Now he's really under his pads, and he's just going to drive through those hands and continue to work in those hands and just continue working at an angle directly toward the quarterback, and literally gets the quarterback hit. Like, does that count as a quarterback hit? I don't know, because he doesn't technically hit him, but he drives the guy back into the hit. So I would think it counts as a hit, but hell of a bull rush right there too. Like, you are not anchoring down versus that. So in terms of he's just a run guy. No, he's a decent pass rusher too, because of his power. So I like Blair. I was excited watching this overall. for the contract he got, I think the contract comes because of the lack of playing time the last year and a half because of an injury. Questions if he can come back from it, but in terms of like a low risk, higher reward type deal, it's low risk.